classrooms to the field, truth and laughter both revealed.
Bring in the harmony.
Shooting for that special feel. Nampa school's always real. Welcome to
Nampa, where dreams can grow.
Matt and Tyler on the show.
Welcome to Nampa.
Where dreams can grow. Matt and Tyler on the show. Welcome to Nampa. Hear the beat. Join the podcast. Take your seat.
You know we're gonna leave that in.
Yeah, I know.
You're singing on that.
Yeah, I should have worked on that beforehand. It's a shame.
Well, you know it's okay because we're doing 2 podcasts in 1 week,
I don't believe this.
and so this is First off, welcome everybody to episode 13 now, lucky 13
That's right.
of the Nampa School District podcast. And as always, my name is Tyler Keefe, and along with me is Matthew
Oh, here we
J.
go. Hey, well
Sizemore.
That's correct. Well remembered, sir.
Yes. Well, today, again, we're in a different setup, even though it's all cleaned up. But we're recording this after you got to chat with all 3 of our head basketball coaches for the boys programs.
Indeed, I did. We are going to have to think of some type of different setup because every time, of course, with the 3 high schools, when we have all 3 coaches of their respective sports on, you take a back seat. But I guess if it were football, you'd want to
We'd swap.
Okay, sure.
I mean, let's just put it how it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess we'd swap there. I'd probably be in the background just like, oh, what about this? What about this? Because I love football more than anything. But yeah, we had our 3 head basketball coaches on the program today for the boys programs, and they were absolutely awesome. We learned a lot about that, high expectations, or I should say some good expectations with young teams coming up. And if you're ready, we can jump into it.
Yeah, no, it was a great conversation that you guys had, and excited to hear what other people think of it. And before we jump in, just a reminder to everybody, make sure you're subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You could subscribe to us on YouTube to get the videos and stuff and all the other stuff we put out too. But then obviously we're on Facebook, Instagram, all that funness. And yeah, we'll just jump right into the interview now.
That's right. Here we go. All right, and let's get right to the main action right now here on episode 13. And I've got 3 boys head basketball coaches. Let's bring in Aaron Sanders, head boys basketball coach from Skyview, Blaine Wright with Columbia, and Brad Adolphson from Nampa. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So let's start right now. Let's start with Blaine, actually. Let's get a little bit into your background. Tell me about your basketball background, how long you played, where you played, how long you've been coaching. Give us the whole shebang.
Yeah, I was just a boring old high school player from Shelley, Idaho, land of the Russets. And I moved to Boise about, a little over 20 years ago, or over to this area. And my coaching background is mostly through the club scene early, and then actually got my start in high school coaching from the guy to my left here at Skyview.
Nice.
And spent a couple years at Middleton. And last year I was out at Treasure Valley Community College under James Jansen, and we had a ton of success out there. And now I find myself in my first year at Columbia High School.
Year 1.
Year 1.
Okay, good to know. All right. How about you, Aaron?
I know a little bit like Brad here. I grew up as a coach's kid, grew up in the gym. My dad was a high school coach, college coach. And so just kind of growing up around that, I just had a love for the game. And so I played in high school. I tried to walk on at NNU where my dad was a coach because I loved basketball, but I wasn't very good. So did that for a year. Didn't really play at all. And then after that, started coaching middle school, I think, while I was still in college. And then ended up coaching at Skyview and been there for about 20 years now.
Yeah, as head coach?
I was an assistant for about 4 or 5 years, and then I've been the head coach for 16, 17 years, something like that.
Gotcha. Great. And just random question, was your dad strictly basketball coach?
He was a high school coach who did, taught, coached football, coached basketball, coached track. And so I definitely kind of followed in his footsteps. When I was a young guy, I coached football, I coached track, I coached softball, I coached tennis, anything to kind of make ends meet back then. And then my wife was smart enough to tell me if I was going to do the head coach, that's got to be it. I can't do any of the other stuff. So.
Gotcha.
And
Cool.
it's plenty. It's plenty of time.
I can imagine. Brad, yourself.
Yeah, Aaron kind of alluded to it. Grew up as a coach's kid. In fact, I grew up in the Nampa Gymnasium where my dad was the head coach, and
Oh, nice.
in the '80s, and so grew up around the game, fell in love with it. Played in high school and all that kind of stuff. Had a couple little opportunities, but I actually decided to play college football and played college football for a year. But knew basketball was my passion, and started coaching while I was in college, and I'm currently in my 4th year at Nampa High School, and just super excited to be home.
Nice. So 4th year now. So you've got you're starting your 4th year. So you're 3 seasons in as head coach. Tell me about your maybe some of your most memorable teams, or how maybe your coaching style or philosophy has changed over those 3 years to where you're at now.
Well, I think the road at Nampa High School over the last 3 years has been a little different. Our first year we were playing at what's now the 5A level, and kind of surprised some teams. I think we were picked 6th or 7th to start the year and finished 3rd, and unfortunately got upset in the district tournament, but had a really good role, and kids kind of outplayed expectations, which is always what you're hoping for as a coach, and then we moved up to the current 6A level, and I know Aaron can. I asked a lot of questions of Aaron because he had been through it at Skyview, and that's a tough road, and I think where we are currently today, because of the last 2 years, it is an interesting point because our varsity teams had limited success, but we were competitive in some games. But our younger teams, our sub-varsity teams, kind of struggled a little bit, and so we're kind of in a rebuild process as far as those younger teams and trying to build the program back up.
Gotcha. Okay. So looking forward to that rebuilding process this year with some younger guys.
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. And how about yourself, Aaron?
I've been at Skyview for a long time,
Yeah.
and I was very blessed when I kind of first started there. We were pretty loaded with basketball players, and so I was coaching with Dan McGee and got to coach some amazing athletes and get to experience what it was like to coach players with that ability level, and being able to go compete in state tournaments and win some state championships and have some success there. And we were able to sustain that for a while. And then, like Brad said, moving up to the toughest division in Idaho, 6A in the SIC, it was a challenge to have the depth that a lot of those other programs had. And so, like I said, I was super proud. I think I probably coached harder, and I think I had my kids play harder maybe than we ever had. But we had to kind of put perfect games together every night, and so it was tough, and we were there for 4 years. I think it developed a lot of tenacity in the kids that stuck it out. And then I think once we came back down to the current 5A level, we saw success again, because those kids who had been working and continuing to develop, and so we were able to get back to the state tournament 2 years ago, and we lost to the eventual state champion Hillcrest, who was pretty good. Again, I think this 5A level's about the right spot where we should be, and we're excited for this upcoming season.
Perfect. And with you being the head coach over at Skyview for the past 16 years, how much would you say your coaching style or philosophy has changed over the years?
I'd say kind of my core philosophy has stayed pretty similar. I think we need to use basketball as a vehicle to teach, lessons for life. I tell the kids all the time that, I want you to be a great basketball player, but I'm more concerned about who you are as a person. So we try to use that as a way to teach those lessons. So I think that's been, pretty consistent all the way through. Again, being a coach's kid, I took a lot of stuff from my dad in the way that I coach, but I'm constantly trying to look for new things. So again, Dan McGee was the guy that I coached with. I took stuff from him, took stuff from my dad, and then anytime I can, I'm always trying to learn and develop and grow. I think that's one of the challenges for coaches is, kids are always, changing. It's a new era. I definitely recognize now I am not the same generation as the kids that I'm coaching.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for coaches to try to learn and continue to kind of change that way and be open to new ways of playing, new ways of, motivating kids, new ways of coaching. Because I think if you kind of get stuck in your ways of just doing things always the same, I think it is tough to kind of keep the kids engaged.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with especially with that new generation of kids, for sure, absolutely. Blaine, for yourself, as a first year head coach or with Columbia, you do have a lot of coaching experience. But are you going into the season already with a plan with this brand new position for yourself? And it's really a new world in a way. But you're going in with a plan and ready to rock.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some ideas, right? And we hope that they can take root. And I've been a part of some successful programs and seen some guys do it the right way, and so we know what it looks like. But we got to implement it and see what comes out of it, right? And so the biggest thing for us is we're coming into a place that hasn't had a ton of success. They've had some good basketball teams and they've had some good talent, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't translated into a lot of state success. Columbia's only ever been to state one time in its history.
No,
and so we're starting on the culture side of things, and we're trying to reach kids and start that belief, get that seed planted, and get kids to believe in themselves. And because I'm big on I think winning is a skill, and it's something that can be developed and learned, but it all starts with belief. And this new age of kid, man, with all their access to phones and social media and instant gratification.
Yeah.
But the thing that these kids nowadays, they can sense when something's not genuine. They've got a pretty serious filter. And so you gotta build some relationships and some culture and love on these kids and just help them believe in themselves, and hopefully we see some success after we try to do that.
Perfect. Gotcha. And kind of going off of what you were just saying, in terms of that true coaching philosophy, and Aaron, I like what you were saying there, of course, about you want to have good basketball players, but you want to have better people, better men. Going back to you there, Blaine, do you have a philosophy going in when it comes to just teaching these kids, not just about basketball, but about life? Yeah,
it's every kid responds to things differently.
Yeah.
When I grew up, and I'm a lot like Aaron. Like, it was I played for an old school coach that was in your face, yelling and screaming the whole time, and kids respond to things differently nowadays. And each kid is different, and as you look to see how each kid needs to be coached and each kid how they respond to certain things, you got to be flexible as a coach, and you got to simplify things and keep it at a level that a kid can respond to and grow and develop, and kids are going to be at different levels, and it's the challenging thing as a coach nowadays. It's just not an umbrella of one way of doing things. You got to find ways to reach each individual and figure out how they tick, and just grow and develop that kid. And if you do that, it becomes more than just basketball. It becomes about life.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Aaron, you want to expand on what you were saying philosophy-wise?
I would just say that, that's one of the things I think that's a challenge, but it's also fun for being a high school coach. If you're a college coach, you can say, all right, I'm going to recruit my type of guy, and we're going to run my system, and we're going to do it only my way. I think every year one of the challenges I look at is just what Blaine was talking about. It's like, all right, what's this group of kids that I'm going to be working with this year? What's going to make them tick? What's going to make them be as effective as they possibly can be, both with how we structure practice, how do we motivate them, what are we running X's and O's wise? So I think that's kind of the intellectual side that I enjoy of being a high school coach, is trying to figure those things out every year. We don't figure them out every year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun when we do figure it out.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the challenge of it every year.
Gotcha. Great. All right, and Brett.
Yeah, I mean, I could echo what these guys say. We have a saying in our program, be good people, be good students, be good athletes, and don't screw up the order. And that's kind of the message that we talk about. And I think basketball is just a great tool to teach life, to teach these kids how to be young men. teach them when they fall, they can still get back up and still be successful. And they're going to have lots and lots of failures, but they're going to have lots and lots of successes. I think, like these guys talk about, trying to find the way that each kid responds to coaching. As a staff, I think we try and coach our kids really, really hard, and we try and love them even harder. And there's a lot of times when kids get coached, and then there's a lot of conversations that happen after the scene, one-on-one, and that's where those relationships are built, and that's where you have the ability to coach kids hard and get more out of them than what they think they can provide. And I think that's that challenge of high school coaching, is that we don't get to recruit those kids. We get kids that are going to come to us, and regardless of background or regardless of experience, we're going to try and put them in the best positions that they can to be successful.
Awesome.
Both on the basketball court and in school and life.
Gotcha. And now a question for any of you, and possibly for all of you, kind of going off of one thing you had said, Aaron, about, I mean, that's absolutely true. Every single year you get a potentially a new group of kids. Is there anything that you guys do preseason to really get to know the kids? And I know a lot of it is learned during practices and seeing what they do, but is there anything you guys do? I don't know, just take them in a classroom or something and do any type of exercise or activities just to get to know these kids and figure out how they work?
I think these guys would probably agree that a big part of it is what we're able to do in the summer. I think when we are able to get a group of kids and go compete and play in the summer, and like Brad said, succeed together, fail together, learn together, I think that's always a huge part of it, especially when we're able to maybe travel, together. I think that's a lot of the memories are developed for these kids, and they are able to bond a little bit and grow. And then like during the season, preseason, we'll do some kind of team building activities sometimes. Again, if you do have kids for 2, 3, 4 years, you got to kind of rotate them. You got to come up with some new things. Sometimes we'll read books together that kind of work on the mental side of the game. Sometimes we'll do some activities where we are getting out and doing something physical together and moving. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I think a lot of that foundation's built in the summertime.
Gotcha. Anyone want to expand?
Yeah, I would second that. It's anytime that we can get the team away together, where they're, whether we're staying in a hotel for a few days, just to get your group together and talk to them and get them in a room and like study books or, all of those things are great tools to get a kid. We talk about being vulnerable, like when a kid's willing to share his story, whatever that story is, we know that we're heading down the right track, that this kid's willing to trust this group and trust these coaches. And a lot of that is done in the summer. Summer's huge for high school basketball. And so, yeah, that's our big key is when we see students or student athletes start to share their story with their peers, we feel like we're doing some things right.
Awesome. Right.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think any high school basketball coach is going to say, hey, that period from the end of the state track meet to, middle of July, end of June, wherever you run your program through, I think those are just core moments to building team and building program. And I think, and usually it's away from the basketball court. The basketball court is great stuff, but it's hey, let's grab some pizza. Hey, let's go to a swimming pool and jump in the pool. Whatever the case may be, just building those moments where not only the players can be vulnerable, but we as coaches can be vulnerable. There's that old saying that they don't care what you know until they know that you care, and so that we're able to grow with our team as coaches as well.
That's awesome. Brad, I want to stick with you on this next question. Of course, coaches play such an important role in student athletes' lives. What would you say, though, community-wise, what would you say that basketball and high school basketball, of course, specifically means to the community?
Well, I think it provides an event that during the winter time, it's indoors and everyone can go to it, and it's relatively cheap. I mean, yeah, you do have admission, but it goes to a good cause, and I just think that it provides a great opportunity to see competition and see competitors at their best. I think the basketball is the ultimate team sport, where everybody's sitting right on you. Everybody sees every facial expression, every body language, all of that stuff goes along with everything in our game. And, so fans are able to get close to the action, and which is sometimes good and sometimes bad, but, but especially, like now being in the same league as these gentlemen and all that kind of stuff, and their respective schools, it allows our community to kind of come together for those opportunities.
Yeah, and let me add to that. Jumping over now to Aaron, what would you say in your own words? High school basketball means to not only the community but also to school spirit in general.
Yeah, I think sports are kind of the face of our schools usually. Like a lot of people, when they kind of hear how schools are doing, it's usually based on how the sports teams are doing, and then you can kind of dive in deeper to how they're doing. So I think that's kind of the first thing that people see. And just kind of adding to what Brad was talking about, I think it's pretty amazing to come to our games and see kids from age, 2 to 82 at the games enjoying it. I mean, you got little kids that maybe came to our basketball camps in the summer. You got kids that are at the middle schools that are watching kids play now going, that's going to be me in a couple of years. I'm going to be playing there. And then we have former players come back and go, oh, man, I remember when I was playing there. And then we got parents in the stands. And then occasionally you have people who've been watching your team for 30, 40 years, and they come up and tell you stories about the good old days. So that's where I kind of see a lot of our community is just the wide range of all the people that are there to enjoy the events.
Awesome. Gotcha. And Blaine, yourself and maybe what you're looking forward to the most community and school-wise.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything these two guys have said, and I think community is a huge part of any high school. I mean, coming from, albeit small-time college basketball, there's something special about high school sports. Yeah. Just the support and the platform that you have from high school to outreach to your community, like any families that are struggling, any opportunities to serve and to be a part of. I'm a huge advocate for the Coaches versus Cancer Week, and just being able to reach out to anybody that might be having some sort of issues, that you can use this platform or this event or this season to just include all these community members and really have it be one big family. And that's what it's all about. And it's hard to get that at any other level than high school. There's just high school sports are just they're special.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. So obviously you're going into first year now with Columbia, but you have been a coach for quite a long time. Do you have any pregame rituals that either you yourself do, whether that's a certain meal or just any type of ritual that you typically do or you plan to do with your team coming up?
Yeah, we're big on being together. Our mantra is our word is oneness, and so we want, we'll get together before games. We will spend time. All three teams will be at all three games. We'll have a meal for the varsity before the game, and then we'll spend time together in the locker room beforehand. And we'll be very, very specific on how that goes down. I mean, everything will be together always. Just so if emotions ride high, and we want those that are high to pick up those that are low, and those that are low to maybe keep those guys that are riding high keep their feet on the ground a little bit, and so we'll have some specific things that we do, but mostly it's just going to be all about being together and having all three teams as a program.
Gotcha. All right, great. And yourself, Aaron?
For us, kind of like we were talking before, we kind of talk about that each guy is slightly different. So we talk about by the time you get to the varsity level, you should hopefully understand what makes you go. For some guys, maybe they're going to rock out to heavy metal music to get pumped up. Other guys may need to calm down. And so we talk about, understanding who you are as a person, as a basketball player, what makes you play at your best, and respecting our teammates who maybe are different than what we are. And then the big thing, we just want the guys to be comfortable and loose before we play. And so we feel like if they know what, their job is for that game, and then they are taking care of themselves to be ready to go, that they should be ready to go.
Gotcha. Fred.
Yeah, we do a lot of individual stuff and then come together as a team prior to with pregame scout, those types of situations. But our guys get about 30 minutes on their own to mentally and physically prepare themselves, and then work together as a group for about an hour prior to the game. And at that point, it becomes team and program.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is the first time, and I don't know the years or how long it's been, but I know it's the first time you guys have all been together in 5A now in a while. You're all going to play each other twice this year. I'm looking forward to that for sure. I'm sure you guys are as well. What is it going to take to get some type of city championship or city trophy or something that can be passed around each year, depending on, I guess it's a little hard when each team only plays twice. It's obviously an even number, but what's it going to take to get some type of city trophy together, and what would that be?
Well, it's kind of gone round and round, and I know Aaron's the veteran of the group. I know Aaron, was it 2 years ago that we started the Golden Net game?
Yeah, I think so.
I think 2 years ago, Nampa and Skyview started the game for the Golden Nets.
All right.
Unfortunately, Nampa hasn't won that yet. So I know Nampa and Skyview have played the game for the Golden Net, where our nets are gold, and the winning team cuts those down that night. And I know Nampa Columbia has played for the Key to the City, which is a large metal key that I'll bring to the Columbia game the next time we play.
Okay.
So we currently hold that one, and I know that we've had that. I don't know if there's been, since the last time, if there's been a full city championship. I know our fans like to put that in there, but
yeah, I don't think we've ever had something where there was a champion of the whole city. Again, like I said, the kids will definitely talk to each other and let each other know who they think is the champion of the city. But yeah, we've never had like a traveling trophy for, between all three of us. Like I said, I know we've been kind of starting to develop some things in between two schools, but yeah, we haven't had one for everybody.
Okay.
Man, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. There's nothing better than a whole community coming together and supporting high school kids.
That's right.
As rowdy as it can be.
Gotcha. All right, my last just quick question for you guys on the topic of basketball on your teams. Just a quick rundown of your expectations going into the season.
Yeah, we're excited. We've got some talent, but we're young. Our main we've got a senior returner in Blake Hansen, who's we're expecting him to have a good season, and then we've got three sophomores returning from the varsity squad last year in Easton Lott, Brenton Thewison, and Max Keller. And so we're young, but we're talented, and we'll see what we'll go as far as our youth will take us, and we'll see how we can develop them. And I think they're athletic, they're good, but youth is can be a problem. So hopefully we can develop them and turn out and have a good season.
Yeah, all learning process. All right, that's Columbia right there, and Skyview.
Yeah, we got some, returning kids that helped us a lot last year. Brady Skellhouse, James Smutney, Caden Salvadori all played a lot of minutes for us on the perimeter. So we're going to rely on those guys for kind of their leadership and their experience in those areas. And then we got a few new kids. We got a couple big bodies, which is nice. We got a big freshman named Johnny Merrow, who's pretty tough. We got another sophomore named Blake Finizzi, who also is going to help us out quite a bit. And then we have another young freshman, Sam Bauer, who's a really good young player. So similar to what Coach Wright had, we got some really good young kids. They did a great job this summer. I'm excited to see them kind of get to compete during the season.
Awesome. And Nampa High.
Yeah, we're young as well. We have a senior class that it is too deep, and so and they both played JV last year. So our 3 returners are juniors this year, and but we're going to be young. We're and you know that's good. We have a lot of changes. We've gone from being a team that had really, really good size to we're going to be a little bit undersized against every opponent we play this year. And so we'll adapt that to adapt styles to those personnel kids. But we got some great kids. Dom Alvarez got injured during the football season, but he's a returner for us that we expect big things from, along with Paul Russa and Rylan Rush. That's also going to provide us some good experience from our varsity team last year.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen, really looking forward to your respective seasons coming up and looking forward to catching some games. On the note of basketball in general, I want to just throw out a question to you guys, maybe think about it for a moment, and we can start, Blaine, with you. Do you have, and what is, I guess, your favorite team of all time? I'm talking NBA or college, if you have one. That's a tough one.
Well, all the kids nowadays love to talk about the old school versus the new school,
Of course.
and who's the best. But I would have to say that my love of basketball comes from the old college game with Bobby Hurley and Christian Leitner and Grant Hill, and there's going to be a lot of disappointment. I'm a pretty big Duke fan. And I love those old college basketballs from the 90s when I was a middle school kid and a high school kid. That's a golden age where guys stayed 4 years. And, that's the team that I fell in love with basketball with.
Gotcha. It's never been a bad time to be a Duke basketball fan, I guess.
Nope.
How about you, Aaron?
Growing up in the 90s, and that's kind of really when I started falling in love with basketball, was right when the Fab Five at Michigan were rolling. So, I mean, that was kind of the first college team that was, that I really kind of fell in love with. Chris Webber and Jalen Rose and Dwight Howard and all those guys. And then at that exact same time, Michael Jordan was the biggest, star in the world. So, you couldn't help but watch the Bulls of the early to mid 90s and not like them pretty much. So those are probably the 2 teams kind of when I was falling in love with basketball that I probably liked the most.
All right, gotcha. And Brad?
I'm probably going to date myself here a little bit. I probably go back to the 80s Lakers Celtics battles back in the day. And then I'm a big John Wooden guy from his late 70s teams. But I will say that I think the biggest transition of love of the game of basketball to the obsession of the game of basketball that I hit was having the opportunity to watch the Dream Team play in person.
Yes.
And being able to see those guys play and do that kind of turned it from a love of the game to an obsession with it.
Yeah.
And so that's probably where I'd go.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, it was the old Kobe Shaq days on the Lakers because it was nothing, even though it's such a shame they didn't work out, but watching those two together when they were gelling, oh my gosh, you could not beat that combo right there. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. Of course, my guests today have been all head boys basketball coaches from our 3 high schools, Aaron Sanders with Skyview, Blaine Wright with Columbia, and Brad Adolphson with Nampa High School. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here, and best of luck with your seasons.
No
problem. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Good luck, guys.
All right, this has been episode 13 of the Nampa School District Podcast. We'll catch you all next week.